Alright, today we're going to go over the Harbor Freight pickup bed crane. This is most of the parts and pieces right here laying on the table, with the exception of the stand, which I've already screwed down these boards just to give it a little stability while I play with it. There's a few things I've noticed with it that I'm not real keen on. Like, you notice the inside of this pipe's already rusted. There's not a speck of oil on it. So that's one thing for corrosion resistance that I am going to do, is at least probably give it some silicone spray. Ultimately, the top of this should get pretty well smeared in grease, but I want to keep the moisture out of the inside of that for sure. The cable winch that comes with it is pretty simplistic, and it already comes wound through the end of this jib boom. For my application, I think I'm going to wind up modifying this some after we get this all built and together. The cable winch, you can see there's two holes here and a hole here, and that lines up here and here. I'm going to wind up introducing this, however, to go about like that. That way I can take my Reese receiver winch setup that I built, slide it in here and pin it, and run this with a remote controlled winch. That'll be my long-term goal. So let's get this thing built and see how it looks and get some dimensions off of it and go from there. One other thing with the parts and pieces that come with this is the kit does include these two pieces of angle iron that already have holes drilled in them for mounting under a pickup bed. I may very well wind up utilizing them for this project. If not, it'll be for a different project. But while that's the intended application, sorry about the instability in the camera. That's the intended application. That is not going to be how I install it. Alright, we're going to get this jib crane put together. The only thing that anybody should find challenging on this is how you're going to mount the bottom to whatever it is you choose to put it on, whether it be a pickup bed or you fabricate something different of your own. Everything else is super straightforward. That's what we're going to go over today. This piece should be fairly self-explanatory. The big parts for the jib, the bottom parts for the bottle jack, and the top's welded, so it can only go the one direction. I'm going to hit some liquid wrench silicone spray on the inside of this thing, try to see if we can extend its life out a little bit. On the inside of this tube, they painted almost an inch down, not even a full inch. Same thing with this top piece. There is a grease fitting that we will add in here, but the inside of it, I don't know if we will see or not. It is not painted, and paint obviously isn't going to hold up real well here anyways. So I'm going to silicone spray it now, and later on down the road we'll get some grease. Slides over like that. To assemble this, the kit comes with 3 different size pins with just small cotter pins to hold it together. They're pretty self-explanatory on where they go as you go to slide them through. If it fits and it barely sticks out, that's where it goes. Obviously that leaves me with one more, and that'll go on the end of the bottle jack out on the jib. Having the bottle jack on a swivel like that is pretty slick, because it'll allow you to work it from either direction. So I'm not going to do it right now because I'm going to take it apart. As you put these together, obviously just the cotter pins to hold the end of these pins. They do come with the kit. Alright, we're mostly built at this point. It's 3 small bolts with Allen heads to hold this down. I'm just going to loosely throw them in for now. Alright, there is a Zert fitting that goes in here. It does not come installed, just this little brass plug. It appears to be 9/32 socket size. And probably metric, but 9/32 fits well. So I'm going to go just barely snug. There we go, I like that. That way you can add a little grease in there and it'll swing a little easier. Besides obviously the fact that I've omitted the cotter pins that go in each of these joints, the only thing that's left to finish the assembly is these two large pins. One of them slides through here to control the swing. There may very well be a reason for it, but I find it kind of bizarre that it's a little bit off kilter from the base. Obviously if I square up with the base like this, as I bring it up, my jib arm goes off to the left. I suspect it's probably to allow for a pickup bed. It would have been nice if they just put enough holes in it to line it up either way. Then this last pin goes in here and just allows the control of the extension on the jib arm. The last piece we have is the handle for the bottle jack. So the bottle jack handle obviously does have a small slot milled in it to be able to manipulate the end of the bottle jack, and then it has a small tube that it slides in down here. It's kind of a chintzy way to secure it in my mind. It's going to be annoying to listen to it rattling, and it doesn't really positively hold it into the vehicle. So I think I'm going to wind up changing that as well. Alright, so obviously if we want to go up on the bottle jack, just make sure that that's tightened all the way, which it is. Stick the end of our rod in here and start pumping. You'll see it's pretty slow, but I believe that's a 3-ton jack on here, so it has quite a bit of power. In this setup, it's rated for lifting 1,000 pounds on the jib arm. Biggest concern, obviously, if you're mounting this on a pickup bed, is what you hook that base to. I'll get a measurement on this here in a second. Figure out what 1,000 pounds is going to be in torque. It's going to be, almost 3,000 foot-pounds of torque, because that bar is close to 3 feet, probably about 30 inches is my guess. Alright, so this jib arm, there's your overall measurements. So you're literally right at 3 feet. So 1,000 pounds hanging on the end of that is a 3,000 foot-pounds of torque at the bottom when you're down at 90 degrees. That is quite significant. Alright, I'm just going to check and make sure this is a standard Zert fitting on here with my grease gun. I see it clip on there just fine. Let's give it a couple pumps. Yeah, grease is going in there normal. It's a good deal. I'll grease it heavier when it's in its final home. I don't want a huge mess right now. Curious to see if just that little bit of grease makes a difference in how that pivots. I think so. I think between the lithium grease and or silicone spray and a little grease, that's nice. So now to make our modifications. Plan is to take this winch off, totally remove it, and put a Reese receiver on here. Alright, I'm going to bring this down just a little bit. See how the down looks like on this anyhow. That's easy to control. You can go fast or you can go easy. I like it. Alright, so I got this piece off Amazon. It's just a standard Reese receiver. Metal appears to be blued a little bit, but otherwise it's untreated. I'm going to prep this base that's designed for the crank winch to receive that. Then that'll, if I get it good and square, will allow me to slide my Reese receiver winch in here. I'm going to dry fit it all here in a moment. And then just change up the end of the jib so that that cable can be taken in and out. That's the long-term goal. Like I was saying, obviously things aren't welded into place But that is alright, this is our end goal, is to have this general setup here.